Photoshop quick tips. Let's talk a little bit about masking. Let's go. Okay, we're in Photoshop here, and I want to talk a little bit about masking. This is a tool and an idea that I use in nearly every photo. It's really the fundamentals of Photoshop. So let's just say in this image I wanted to get rid of the background. A lot of people, their first inclination is to use the eraser tool. So if I just create a really rough selection here to select the background. So most people would jump to this eraser tool and they would just get rid of that part of the layer, right? Let's say you wanted to put something else in the background or whatever it might be. So that's one way to do it. And now we have an empty background to do whatever we want with. But the problem with the eraser tool is if I want to come back and maybe add back this lamppost or add back some of the things on top of this cart, it's going to be really difficult. You're going to have to just bring this file right back in to get that information back. And we don't want that. This is what you might call destructive editing, where you're removing information from the file and you really can't get it back easily. Of course, you can use the undo tool, but if I had moved on to another portion of the image or doing something else and this step was kind of way in the past, the undo wouldn't be too useful to me. And I always like to set up a photo so that I can change and edit different parts whenever I want to. I can go back to something I did in the beginning of the edit if it doesn't quite look right at the end of the edit. It's all about kind of iterating and being able to have control over the whole image. So an alternative to using the eraser tool is to create a layer mask. So you're going to do that by just clicking this little piece of paper with a hole cut in it. So now we can get that same selection back and we can paint black onto this mask. So the basics of masking is when you're selecting this layer, which is kind of attached to your original layer, when you have it selected, if you paint black, that'll essentially be like an eraser. So black will remove something from the image, and if you paint white, it will bring that element of the image back. So I have a black brush here, and I can paint. And you can see this does pretty much the same exact thing as the eraser tool, right? The difference is, if I go up to this mask, I can shift click it and I can turn off that mask so I can see what's underneath, see the whole layer, and then I can toggle that back on. So what's really nice is now I could go back and I could, for example, select this lamppost here. And I can use a white brush now to paint that back in. You see, if I had erased it, that lamp would be gone forever. But here there's a lot of editability, and you could even see I was really sloppy with this selection. I can always go back with a black brush and I can paint out any parts that I missed, or with a white brush and I can kind of fill it in where I cut too deep in my selection. So masking is a really handy tool to maintain editability in all your layers. I never ever use the eraser tool. I have another image here that has a mask on it. I wanted to talk about some of the options for masks. You go up to the layer panel and you double click on the mask itself. You get these layers or these options, and they're really handy. So one of them is invert, which basically just flips the colors in the mask, or the black and white areas of the mask. You can see if you look at this icon up here, when I click invert, everything turns black and the figure turns white. Invert again, the figure's black, mask is white. Another useful feature here is the feather tool. Sometimes when you mask something in an image, the edge is just way too harsh, and when you look at the other objects in the scene, their edges are more blurred and they blend into the scene, so the thing you selected just sticks out like a sore thumb. This feather tool is really handy to solve that. A lot of times I will just feather based on the sharpness of the rest of the image to make the edge look as natural as possible. So that's masking, super handy tool. And let's move on to the next one.